Please be seated.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Albee. We try to wrap up this area fairly soon, Mr. Dillard, but do you remember another victim in Lithuania named Jonas Kleizas?
His daughter, yes, is Jurata Kleizas.
Well, you met with Mr. Kleizas himself, right?
Yes.
After meeting with his daughter?
Correct.
And his daughter wanted a work visa to come to the United States, right?
And she wanted an illegal work visa to come to the United States.
So it's hard for Lithuanians to get a visa to come to the United States, right?
Well, it's easy actually if you're upstanding. It's easy if you've got a job and you have a little bit of money, because then they know you're going to return.
So these people kind of deserved what they had coming to them, huh?
No, I would never say that. That's the wrong way of put it. They were just looking for an alternative way to get to America the wrong way.
And you met with Mr. Kleizas, right?
Yes.
You presented yourself as a very polite person, right?
Correct.
Presented yourself as very sincere, correct?
Yes.
Much in the way you're doing today, right?
Well, yes.
Mr. Kleizas, after meeting with you, was sufficiently impressed that he asked about getting a visa for his son, too.
His son was already in America illegally.
It wasn't a question.
Yes. Then, yes.
And so then he said he wanted to purchase a visa for both his daughter and his son, correct?
Correct.
And he gave you $4,450 on one occasion, right?
I don't recall the exact figures.
Does that sound about right?
Sure.
And $4,900 on another occasion.
Possible.
And the second time he was $200 short, right?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember being a nice guy and saying, forget about the $200?
No, I don't remember that.
You told him that you knew people in the embassy that could help?
Yes.
That was a lie.
Yes.
You had them give you their passports, right?
Yes.
And then you didn't produce any visas, right?
Correct.
You had no way of producing any visas, right?
Correct.
You called yourself in your recorded statement with Mr. Jamboys and Ms. Gabrielle, you said you were a middleman. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes, to answer yes.
Yes.
But this was your con game, wasn't it?
Not entirely. There were other people involved.
You were the one who dealt with the people, right?
Yes.
You're the one who took their money.
Correct.
You're the one who did not produce any visas for them, right?
I believe I've said that. Yes.
His daughter, after not getting the visas for several months, reported you to the police, right?
Correct.
You made arrangements to meet with Mr. Kleizas, right?
Yes.
You begged for just a little bit more time so that you could get some money together?
Sure. Yes, I did.
And really you were just begging for some time so you could flee, right?
Not correct.
Did you end up in a Latvian prison then too?
Yes, after I was indicted.
Because you were in Latvia when they issued the charges, right?
Not correct.
How'd you end up in the Latvian prison?
I ended up in Latvia. I was released. I was charged and let go, and I left the country. I didn't understand that I wasn't allowed to leave Lithuania. And I went to Latvia, and I was arrested in Latvia by Interpol. I believe if you got the transcripts from the court proceedings, you'll see that a document was never translated to me, nor did I sign off on, that said I couldn't leave the country. That was ruled in court.
That was someone else's fault.
Excuse me?
That was someone else's fault?
Is there fault to be put on anybody? If I don't know, there's nothing I can do. If I didn't know I wasn't supposed to leave the country,
Mr. Dillard, there's no question on the floor.
Oh, I thought there was.
So, you'd agree that the judge in sentencing you could consider what kind of man you are, right?
I believe I've said yes to that already.
You would agree that you're a liar?
Sure. Was.
You've been convicted 8 times
Possibly. It sounds about right.
in the United States.
I don't know if the number, I thought that was including Lithuania.
You thought that included Lithuania?
I believe that's what I just said.
Well, you have 5 convictions in Lithuania alone, don't you?
I think it was read into one conviction, so that I count that as one because everything was read together. I don't think there was 5 individual case numbers, it was one. So that's 5 counts of one case, I believe.
Don't you have 8 convictions here?
Excuse me?
Don't you have 8 convictions in the United
I
States?
think I just said I thought it was 7 and then, or 6 and then with this one 7. I'm not sure exactly how many convictions I have. Can you tell me? So I know.
You'll acknowledge you're a convict many times over?
Yes.
You're a con man?
Convict, yes,
And
convict.
a con man, right?
Sure.
You're a thief?
Sure, was a thief, yes.
Something funny, Mr. Dillard?
I could just say I'm a criminal. I mean, I don't know what this is about. I mean, I was.
Anything else you'd like me to add?
Yeah, no, you're doing good.
Do you have any remorse for any of those activities?
Absolutely.
And now this is all in the past.
Absolutely.
Was it in the past when you wrote to Judge Fisher? He's one of the judges who sentenced you, right?
Correct.
In a letter from June 2003.
Objection, Your Honor, it's irrelevant. It's hearsay and it's irrelevant.
Oh, really? Do you recall writing to Judge Fisher, "This is my first time in the system, and I will tell you I have learned my lesson, and I will not fail on probation. I have made some terrible mistakes, and I hope you believe me when I say that I won't do it again. Please take this letter as a respect for you and your court, and please consider what I am asking. Thank you. Sincerely, Aaron Dillard." Did you write that letter?
Yes, I did.
And in August 26, 2005, in a sentencing after revocation in 00CF 1181, you told Judge Milosauskas, page 11, line 2, "I just want to get this behind me. I want to pay the restitution and be done. And you know, I don't want to be in this situation ever again in my life."
I still never want to be in this situation again.
Did you ever pay that restitution?
I am working on it.
How much were you supposed to pay?
There's no fixed amount. I mean, I know I owe about, in restitution with extradition costs and everything else involved, I believe I owe about $11,000, $12,000.
How much did you pay?
I'm not sure.
$100?
More than that, I believe.
Less than 500?
I believe it could be more, could be less, around there. I'd say around $500.
This case is 00. That means it was filed in 2000?
Yes, it does.
And you've put together maybe $500 on this case and all your other cases since then?
I was convicted in 2004 or 3, I believe it was, when I actually got convicted of the case. So there was it's only been 3 years, and I've been in prison for 1.5 years of it at least. So I've actually only had this ordered for how long? I mean, 3 years and 1.5 years, maybe 2 years I've been in prison of it. So I've got about a year to pay on it, and getting a job after being in prison is kind of difficult. And I've been paying what I can. My goal is to pay that restitution.
Now, when you took that money from Cassandra Ivy, you didn't apply that to the restitution, did you?
I was hoping to win.
Just like today, huh?
I don't know what I have to win today. Do I have anything to win? I don't think this is winning anything.
When you're told that you must tell the truth, it's Mr. Jamboys who decides what the truth is, right?
No.
It's Mr. Jamboys who has to be satisfied with your testimony, true?
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. The offer they made was to tell the truth, and they would make a recommendation. I am telling the truth. I believe it's for them to tell me if I'm telling the truth. I mean, the truth is what it is.
You understand that if we over here believe you're not telling the truth.
And that's your job, to believe I believe.
We can't pull any strings like Mr. Jamboys, right? You know that.
Okay.
You know yourself pretty well?
Still, does anybody? I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to know myself. It's kind of complicated with any issues that you could have. I mean, who really knows themselves internally? I don't even think, do you not? I don't know myself. I guess I don't know myself all that well, and I'm still learning.
Do you have an opinion as to your own character for honesty?
Sure.
And it's that you're not an honest person.
You're making my opinion now. I guess my opinion of myself is that I'm trying to be a good person now. I've been through a lot in my life, and I've done a lot of bad things, and I guess I was a bad person at one time in my life. That's my opinion. But bad people sometimes can be good people. Just got to figure yourself out.
And so, as of May 31st, this all changed? When you were crying with the police, not wanting to go back to prison?
Was I crying with the police? I'm just wondering, because I thought I said that I don't recall that, and I'm just making sure. The fact of me changing, there's a lot of things that changed my life. My mom died while I was in prison. There's a lot of things. I almost lost my wife. And there are things I never want to have to experience again. I never got to say goodbye. Things change.
Well, just like when you told Judge Fisher that you made some terrible mistakes.
I did.
And you hope he believes you when you say you won't do it again, right?
I asked him to.
And he shouldn't have believed you at that time, should he?
I think he should have believed in my intentions, and that's what I asked him to do. I made mistakes, and I did it again.
Mr. Dillard, it's fair to say that it's easier to tell a lie when you mix some truth in with your lie.
I don't think that's easy anymore.
Let's talk about your experience with lying. You found that to be the case, right?
Excuse me?
You have found that to be the case, that you can...
No, I haven't found that to be the case.
You think it's easier just to lie 100%?
I think it's easier to tell the truth because I bet you the outcome is a lot better. So what I do and what I think sometimes are two different things. It's a choice. You have a choice to lie or you have a choice to tell the truth.
When you were lying to Deborah Spears?
Can I ask when I lied to Judge Deborah Spears?
Mr. Dillard,
I don't know.
You lied to Deborah Spears, right?
Oh, yes, I did about her name. That's correct. My name. Yes, I did. In the bar. Sorry. I'm thinking of your
Mr.
implications
Dillard.
about borrowing money and things like that.
Mr. Dillard.
Yes, sir.
You need to wait for questions.
Okay. Sorry.
When you came into the Kenosha County Jail on August 14th, you knew all about Mark Jensen's case, right?
No.
Did you know anything about it?
Yes.
You had read about it, right?
Yes.
You read about it in the Kenosha News, right?
Correct.
You received the Kenosha News in prison?
No.
You'd seen the case on TV, right? No?
No.
You'd seen Mr. Jensen's picture, right?
No.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No.
Now, you met with these prosecutors and gave a statement, right?
Yes.
Call that? And at bottom of page 7, top of page 8. When you came in, you said, we just started talking, and they said who he was, and I'm like, oh, you're a pretty popular guy lately, because he was in the newspaper, and I saw his picture.
I said that I don't remember saying I saw his picture, I'm sorry. I didn't see his picture.
What's the truth, though?
I didn't see his picture in the paper. I don't remember seeing his picture.
But you told these prosecutors you saw his picture.
Yeah, I could have at the time. With everything that's going on, I don't believe I believe I did say that, but I don't know for sure of the incidents. I don't have the article in front of me, but I don't remember seeing his picture in the newspaper, because the papers we get are all edited and censored and everything's ripped apart in them.
So it's your opinion that the prisoner of the jail doesn't want you to see any photographs of Mark Jensen?
No, I believe that there's a lot of things in the paper, and sometimes there's things on back pages that want to be taken out. It could be anything.
Mr. Dillard,
Yes,
you told these prosecutors you saw his picture, right?
I don't remember if I did or not. It's been how long? I could have, but I don't recall it.
So you have a hard time remembering whether you said that in October, right?
Did I refer it to that? Can you read the thing again? Because I saw his picture in the paper, but I don't believe it was before that. That's what I'm getting at. Is it the question of, did I see it before or after?
Well, I will read it again. Bottom of
Okay.
page 7, top of page 8. Well, when Mark came out, this is right when you get there. When Mark came out, it was just basically general conversation. Hey, how's it going? Things like that. And then we started talking, and they said who he was, and I'm like, oh, you're a pretty popular guy lately, because he was in the newspaper, and I saw his picture. I was like, oh, you're a pretty popular guy lately. And he goes, yeah, and like blew it off a little bit. And then we just started talking from there. So that's how we met and introduced.
Okay, so maybe the picture said I said it, but I don't remember seeing this picture in the paper. I've seen it in the paper since then, and prior to giving the statement. So I don't know if I misworded it and said I seen him in the paper. I'm sorry.
But you had read about his case before that.
Yes, I have. I read about the Klug thing,
Mr.
actually.
Dillard?
Yes, I'm answering the question.
The first day you were in the first full day that you were in that jail, 2 inmates beat up another inmate?
The first full day?
Yes.
So that'd be the second day, that'd be 14th, 15th?
Yes. Is that right?
Yeah,
You were only there 2 full days, fair to say?
2 full days.
As to when, what?
When you were in the Kenosha County Jail, during this time when you talked about being with Mark Jensen, you were in the Kenosha County Jail 2 full days, right?
Plus some additional time, yes.
2 full days, right?
No, I mean, what do you mean by 2 full days? I was there for 48 plus about 20 hours, so that's over 2 full days.
You mean all day on the 15th and all day on the 16th, right?
I was there in addition to 2 other days.
I
Partial
understand.
days.
Partial days and 2 full days.
Yes.
Fair enough. And so on one of those 2 full days, 2 inmates beat another inmate, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Michael Clark was beaten, right?
I don't know his name.
And there was a fight over food, true?
I think there was a little bit more depth to that than just being food. Yes, but food was involved in that fight.
They were trying to take two inmates were trying to take Michael Clark's food, right?
Yes,
And they beat him with a sock full of dominoes, correct?
that's correct.
And everybody in that pod saw that, right?
I can't verify what everybody else saw, but I saw it clearly.
Okay, Mr. Jensen saw it.
Sure, if he says so.
Did you see, what do you recall about that? Was Mr. Jensen there?
He was in the cell block, yeah, I mean, but what do you want me to answer to what he saw?
Just asking you what you remember, Mr. Dillard.
I remember sitting eating my lunch watching the guy get beat up.
You didn't intervene, right?
You know what? Me intervening in jail is just going to catch me a charge. You can't do that. You're not allowed to.
That's right, you're not allowed to intervene, right?
That's correct.
You're not allowed to report that to the guards, right?
If asked.
And when the guard came and Mr. Clark started telling the guard that he had just been beaten and he was bleeding, one of the inmates attacked him again, right?
Yes.
Right in front of the guard.
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, I want the record to be clear on something, though. When you say you're not allowed to report that, I think you're answering to two sovereigns there. You're not allowed to intervene as a jail rule, is that correct?
Well,
Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And not allowed to intervene is an unwritten rule among the prisoners, is that right?
You could go as far as to say.
That's not an official rule of the jail.
Correct. I mean, it's both. I believe they tell you if anything happens, just go away. Don't involve yourself in it.
But there's no rule that you're not supposed to report something.
No, there's no rule written on that.
Right.
From your jail experience, you'd be fearful to report that, true?
Yeah, I suppose you would, yes.
Mr. Jensen showed you the transcript of Mr. Klug's testimony.
Yes, he did.
You read it
Yes, I did.
several times, right?
Once.
And then you went through it with Mr. Jensen as you talked about certain portions of it, true?
Again, Your Honor, I object to counsel using the conjunctive after a witness has denied or corrected the answer to the previous question.
Rephrase your question.
You read it once, and then you went through it some more with Mr. Jensen as you went through specific parts, right?
I don't recall that. I don't recall us seeing it a second time. I believe we discussed it, but we never actually had the documents out and went over them.
And most of your information about Mr. Klug came just from reading the transcript, right?
That's where all my information came from, besides what Mark told me.
Well, you recall during your recorded interview with these prosecutors that you kept referring to him as Mr. Klug, as in rhymes with jug?
Yes.
And that's because you hadn't heard Mark say his name so much as you had read it and thought his name was Klug rather than Klug.
Mark said his name plenty of times, but I still know how many times have I made a mistake in here? I still know it's Klug, and I still say Klug. It's just the way it comes out for me. I read it as I read it. I say it as I read it.
Did you take notes while you were in the jail?
Not that, no.
Not that what?
Not that I recall taking any notes. I might have taken notes about other things, about my case, about things like that.
So you were taking notes while you were in the jail, in the Kenosha County Jail during mid-August 2007?
Sure, because I was going for sentencing, yeah. Yeah, I was taking notes.
And you took notes about Mr. Klug's transcript?
Is that what you, no, I did not. I don't know why you're saying that.
You deny taking any notes?
That I believe, yes.
It was a week later before you wrote to your attorney, right?
Yes.
And in that time, you're saying you didn't keep any notes regarding the conversation that you had with Mr. Jensen?
The ones I wrote to my lawyer.
Well, you wrote a letter a week later. I'm asking you if you had notes that you compiled prior to that time.
No, I don't believe so.
You just remembered everything in that letter off the top of your head, all those details?
Well, I may have written a letter and then wrote 2 copies of it to make sure I worded everything right. So if you call those notes, I don't know.
Were you writing a letter to your lawyer while you were in the jail?
No, while I was in prison.
I'm asking you when you first put pen to paper and took notes, Mr. Dillard.
I don't recall.
Objection, notes about what? This is already testified.
Evident from the record, the objections are ruled.
Notes on Klug's testimony? No, I don't recall ever taking any notes on his testimony.
Notes about anything that occurred with Mark Jensen? Anything about Mark Jensen's case? Let's put it that way. When's the first time you took any notes about Mark Jensen's case?
I don't recall ever taking any notes about Mark Jensen's case.
When's the first time you ever put pen to paper regarding Mark Jensen's case?
I believe it was in prison.
A week later? Mm-hmm. Is that it? You have to answer for
Yes,
the court
sorry,
reporter.
yes.
So it's a week later and you had nothing to refresh your recollection up to that time?
Just my memory.
You remembered all those details without any notes?
I believe so.
Mark Jensen, when he talked about his case, denied his guilt, right?
Yes,
He explained to you all the things that the prosecution had wrong that supported his innocence, right?
he explained how they were wrong.
And that's what you'd expect anybody who is accused of a crime they didn't commit to act, right?
In jail, you expect everybody to act like that because everybody's innocent.
It's just like you're innocent in that Racine County case you're facing right now, Mr. Dillard.
Absolutely.
Mr. Jensen explained all the reasons why he felt he'd be acquitted in this case, right?
I'm sure he didn't give me all the reasons he thought, but yeah, he gave me plenty.
And for instance, one thing you mentioned is that the prosecutor at the previous hearing had tried to claim that Benadryl had been mixed with antifreeze, right?
Yeah, he claimed that. That's what he said.
Mr. Jensen told you that they were saying that there was liquid Benadryl mixed with antifreeze, right?
Yes,
And he said, that's foolish because there was no Benadryl in the house, right?
he said there was only gel caps in the house.
Right, so it couldn't be mixed with antifreeze because they were gel caps.
Correct.
Right? That seems a reasonable enough response to the claim of mixing Benadryl, liquid Benadryl and antifreeze, right?
If, in your eyes, I don't know what's reasonable. No, I mean, sure, if there's none in the house, I would suppose him saying that it would take 2 gallons of, or whatever amount of Benadryl plus antifreeze, the way he made it sound, she'd be full of Benadryl.
He told you that the police had been claiming that there was no antifreeze in the house,
Yes.
right? And that the prosecution thought that that was significant, right?
Correct?
He told you that there actually was antifreeze in the house and that they had not done a thorough enough search to find it, correct?
He said that they had taken pictures of the house and that he found it in the pictures.
And so he'd be able to show that the prosecution made a mistake in that area, right?
That's what he said to me, correct?
He told you that his wife had suffered from depression, right?
That's correct.
He said that because of her depression, she had committed suicide, right?
That's correct.
He said that she had been self-medicating with various antidepressants, right?
That's correct.
He said that the doctor had prescribed Paxil, right?
Correct.
He said that Mr. Klug could not be trusted because he was an attention getter, right?
That's correct.
And he said Mr. Klug was a liar, right?
That's correct.
He told you concerns about his wife's treatment of their children, right?
Correct.
He told you that that the prosecution or the prosecution's expert had lost a bunch of papers, right?
That's what he told me.
You had read that in the newspaper as well, right?
I don't recall reading that.
You may have or may not have.
I don't think so, but no, I would say that I didn't read that.
And to you, that sounded potentially significant too, right?
Yes.
He told you that his wife, after taking the antidepressant prescribed by the doctor, the Paxil, had become seemed to have become a little bit like intoxicated.
Yes.
He told you that he couldn't explain why that would happen, right?
Yes,
And that he and his wife therefore had looked up Paxil on the internet to try to figure out what was wrong,
correct.
right? And because he couldn't figure out what was wrong, he told you that he went to the doctor the next day, right?
That's correct.
And that the doctor had prescribed Ambien to see if that would make his wife feel better or sleep more, right?
Yeah, I think we're drifting into two conversations though, because I don't think he told me about the Ambien and why he got the Ambien in the first place. He just said that they gave him Ambien.
But as I understand it, you spent the entire day of August 15th and part of the evening on August 14th talking with Mr. Jensen about his case, right?
Yes,
And during that entire period of time, the 14th and the 15th, Mr. Jensen repeatedly told you that he had not killed his wife, right?
correct.
And he told you the basis for his defense is what you're telling us, right?
I believe that was the last day. Yeah, he did.
And that included the fact that the doctor had prescribed various things for his wife, right?
Yes,
Including Ambien on the day before she died, right?
correct. Well, yes.
He explained what happened on that day that Mrs. Jensen passed away,
Yes, I testified to that already.
right? And he said that he told the kids that they'd take her to the hospital when he got home from work if she wasn't better.
Yes,
And he told you that his wife had insisted that he not take her to the hospital, correct?
no, I don't remember ever testifying to that.
Well, I'm not asking you if you remember testifying to something or not. I'm
no.
asking you whether that was said to you that you recall.
And can you repeat the question then?
Sure. Mr. Jensen, actually, if I could have that last question right back.
A prior question was, and he told you that his wife had insisted that he not take her to the hospital. Correct answer, I don't remember ever testifying to that question. I'm not asking if you remember testifying to something or not. Answer all question. I'm asking whether that was said to you that you recall.
No, I don't recall that being said to me.
May have been said and you don't recall now, 4 months later, 5 months later.
I don't believe it was said to me.
You reviewed other documents in Mr. Jensen's possession?
I actually testified that I did not.
And again, I don't want to ask what you testified to. I'm asking you, did you review other documents?
No, I did not.
Did Mr. Jensen have other documents?
None that I'm aware of.
So your view is that all he had was Mr. Klug's transcript?
That's what I believe. I don't know what he had. I don't know.
You were in his cell, right?
Never.
Never in his cell?
Not that I believe. No, you know what? Sorry. I may have stepped in his doorway, right in the cell between the two cage bars, but if that call that in his room. But that's when he was in there and I would talk through the door because you stand right in the doorway, so.
You were taken out early in the morning of August 17th?
I believe, yes,
You got there on the late afternoon of the 14th, is that right?
that was correct.
You stayed all day the 15th, all day the 16th, and then like 4 in the morning or something, they rousted you and took you out on the 17th.
Sure, yes.
And when you left transcripts in Mr. Jensen's bars of his cell, right?
No, I didn't.
Do you recall now whether you took notes?
No, I don't recall.
It's your claim that all day on the 16th, Mark Jensen changed his mind and just confessed these events to you.
Yes,
Your testimony is you spent the entire day talking about that with Mark Jensen?
My testimony was for about 6-7 hours throughout the course of the day, and that was my testimony.
So when were you doing this on that day? From when to when?
Exact times, I don't know, but the fight occurred, was it the 15th or the 16th? Which day are we talking about, the 16th?
The 16th.
Oh, yeah, for the majority of the day. I'm not sure the exact hours. I'm not sure the exact hours, but as many hours.
What else happened that day? Anything else?
On the 16th?
Yeah.
Nothing that I can recall as far as events. I mean, we watched TV, we took showers, I mean, things like that, ate dinners, ate meals.
Any conversation with any other inmates?
Dion Hardison, maybe a couple of the other ones.
How many times did you talk to Dion Hardison?
I'd say maybe 3-4 times.
Where were all your conversations with Mark Jensen on the 16th?
For the majority in the back of the day room.
Didn't you go to court on August 16th?
I'm not sure. If I did go to court, it'd probably for 2 hours, an hour.
Did you go to court on August 16th, Mr. Dillard?
I believe so.
You were there for a sentencing, right?
Correct.
And you had that postponed?
Yes.
When you wrote do you have the letter? Mark's letter to his lawyer?
Yes, sir. Right here.
State's Exhibit 134. The letter you wrote to your lawyer. You told her you had some very important information in the Mark Jensen murder trial, right?
Yes, I believe I wrote that.
You felt that it needed no explanation as to what the case was, right?
Yes.
You figured she would just know what it was, right?
Yes.
Just like you had known when you came into the jail, you knew what the case was about, right?
Well, everybody knows what the case is about. Yes, I would say everybody knows what the case is about.
A lot of inmates were talking about the case,
Yes.
and you knew it was very high profile, right?
Yes.
You knew it was the kind of case for which you could get lots of credit, right?
If he talked, yes.
You knew you were facing several years in prison.
Yes.
And this was sort of your get out of jail free card, right?
I don't use it as that, but it helped me get out of jail.
You'd be in prison right now if you hadn't come up with this.
Potentially.
Story, right?
Potentially, I could have been.
Almost certainly you would have been given what the probation officer was recommending, right?
That's a recommendation. Considering my crimes the first time, the judge gave me a year. I don't know if he'd give me more the second time.
Well, you don't think you'd consider all those probation violations?
I think he considered that the first time he sentenced me, and he only gave me a year.
You don't think it would matter to a sentencing judge that you continue to commit violations and new crimes?
I've never been revoked twice on the same case, so I don't know what they would think or what they would do. I can only base my opinion on what I got the first time for the same violations.
Now, you were very excited when you wrote this letter to your lawyer, Ms. Rosenke, right?
I don't believe I was excited. I believe that I expressed my emotion through, I don't want to be the jailhouse snitch.
Well, in this 7-page letter, you used like 25 exclamation points, right?
I always write like that.
And what you did in this letter is you took the information that Mark Jensen had given you on August 15th, denying his guilt in this case, right?
I don't know what you're asking me. I mean, I took what information that he denied it. I recall the letter saying that he professed his guilt to me. And he did that on the 16th, isn't that correct?
I don't, I'm not here to answer the questions in here.
I'm just making,
So,
I'm sorry.
you took Mark's story denying everything and you used those facts. Those are included in this statement, right?
It's incorrect.
You haven't included those? That, talking about things like taking his wife to the doctor, right?
Can you repeat the question so I can understand the question? Because I believe the question you asked me wasn't the question you're asking now.
But you included in this letter information that Mark Jensen gave you when he was protesting his innocence to you, right?
No.
Well, for instance, he says he took his wife to a doctor, right?
I think you're taking, can I answer this question like I want, or?
Tell the truth.
Okay, I think you're taking this question and you're reading into it the fact that we had conversations and then implying he didn't profess guilt, that I'm trying to tell what he said he did do and reading it like that. He told me he did these things and I wrote them and he said it two different ways. First time he said he did and second time he said he did. So the information I put in that letter is the facts that he said he did. I didn't use a negative one and make it a positive. I used a positive and kept it a positive.
You, on September 21st, you met, well, on September 21st, you were given a typewritten statement, right?
I don't recall the exact date.
You met with prosecutors and talked with them in mid-September, right?
Yes.
And then after you met with them, they typed up a statement for you, true?
That's true.
And they typed it up and then you approved it, right?
I don't know if I ever approved it or signed it or anything of the sort.
Let's see what you're showing with this.
Mr. Dillard, you've seen Defendant's Exhibit 139, haven't you?
Well, let's see. Would you like this one back? Okay. Yes, I've seen this one.
And was this statement prepared in the manner I suggested, that you spoke with prosecutors and then they typed it up and then you reviewed it and said, yes, that's my statement, that's accurate?
I don't believe that's correct how I received it, no.
All right, tell me how the statement was prepared.
I gave a statement and then I was sent a copy of the statement.
Were you ever asked if it was accurate?
I believe when I talked to them, they asked me if I'm telling the truth and I said yes.
Well, you understand that you could give a statement to somebody and they could write it down and they could make some errors, right?
I understand that completely.
Okay. So did you read this for accuracy?
Not at the, I mean, I didn't receive it at the time I gave the statement. I received it, say, 4 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I received a copy of it. So as far as accuracy, I don't even think I can remember what it says now to say if it's accurate or not accurate.
What's the last time you looked at this statement, Mr. Dillard?
Oh, that I read that? A month ago, maybe?
You're telling me you don't have one of these in your possession that you've read?
I do have one in my possession, but I don't recall everything that's said in it.
You're telling me you haven't read it in the last month?
That is correct.
You didn't go over this with Mr. Jamboys or Ms. Gabrielle at all?
In the last month? No.
Did you go over this with your lawyer?
No.
You haven't reviewed this statement?
I have reviewed it, but I don't recall what it says.
I'm asking you, have you reviewed it in the last month?
I don't believe I have.
Have you reviewed the letter that you wrote to Ms. Rosenke?
The letter that I wrote, yes, I have.
You reviewed that before testifying today, right?
That's not correct.
When's the last time you reviewed that letter?
Oh, God. I think about 3 weeks ago, maybe.
It's your testimony that you haven't reviewed any statements for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Did you ever review any transcripts of your recorded statement?
I asked for a copy. I haven't reviewed them.
So everything you're testifying to, you remember all those details, not having looked at any notes or anything else?
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
Have you looked at anything to refresh your recollection in the last 3 weeks?
No.
Give you back Defendant's Exhibit 139. We begin at line 5, Mr. Dillard. It says at first Mark denied everything, right? Mm-hmm. He said,
Yes or no, please?
Yes, sorry.
he said that this was all bullshit, meaning this guy who would come out of the woodwork, right?
Yes.
DA had nothing on him, that they lost all the papers from the tox reports, correct?
Yes.
This is not inconsistent with the witness's testimony. How is this not hearsay?
Sustained.
Well, Judge, I need to, I think, get into this to show how his story was developed.
Let's take a very short break. Please don't talk about the case during the break.
Please, all rise.